Now, it's my great pleasure to introduce our speakers for tonight. The first is Tim Mackle, who's Chief Executive of Dairy NZ, which is the industry good organisation funded by dairy farmers that does research and other work to improve the performance of the sector. And Dairy NZ has a very comprehensive 2020 strategy, for example, as to how it will make the dairy industry will make its contribution. Next to Tim is John Penno. John is Chief Executive of Synlait, a young South Island dairy company. Like Tim, John has his PhD in animal nutrition. John and colleagues started up Synlait as a very large-scale South Island dairy farmer, always with the intention of, as soon as they could, to cash out their shares from Fonterra and to build their own processing plant, milk dryer, which they've done at Dunsandel outside Ashburton. And you'll hear of Synlait's strategy for approaching these issues. Then next to John is Tonya Wright, who's a business student here at Unitec. Tonya has a wide variety of business backgrounds. She's worked in the tourism industry, she's worked for Air New Zealand, she has had two of her own companies, one of them still running, where she's offering bookkeeping and accounting services for companies. One somewhat relevant to this evening, because one of her clients is an Asian supermarket here in Auckland. Next to Tonya is AJ Murthy, who's a student from Bangalore in India, who is, again, one of our business students here. And AJ contributed to last week's panel on the 2025 challenge. And next to AJ is Peter Melledew, one of our academic colleagues here at Unitec. Peter has a long background in strategy, very involved in teaching entrepreneurship, and is one of the great sort of creative thinkers and teachers here in New Zealand. And there is one other person I'll introduce at this point, and that's Jason Kemp, who's sitting there with his very stylish black Mac laptop. Jason, by profession, is a marketer, and it does a lot of work with companies in new media, and has helped us a lot on this program by getting the tweetdom and the blog sphere engaged in the discussion. So you'll see on these screens back here a flow of tweets coming through from people, some in the room, some out wider, who are responding to what they're seeing others tweeting about. And so I'm going to turn to Jason on a few occasions during the discussion to hear from Jason the sorts of thoughts and questions and things that are coming through externally. We're also filming this tonight, and so we'll put up an edited version of this on the Unitec website in due course. I realise I haven't introduced myself after all that. I'm Rod Oram. I'm a business journalist, have been for a long time. Just as John was named as the Federated Farmers Agribusiness Person of the Year just fairly recently, and also won a leadership award from the Sir Peter Blake Trust, I happen to be the 2009 Landcorp Agricultural Communicator of the Year. And I'm the first wholly urban person to have won that title in 20 years. And I'm really pleased about that, because I care a very great deal about the primary sector. But it does lead to some confusion. When I was speaking at the 7th World Potato Congress in Christchurch earlier this year, a Chinese potato farmer came up to me and asked, he assumed I was a potato farmer, and asked how large my land was, and I said half an hour. And he was confused. He thought I said 100 hectares. And I explained, no, half an hour is how long it takes me to cut the grass in my front and back lawn in Mission Bay. Similarly, I once turned up at a meat industry action group farmers meeting in Te Awamutu, and I had to sign in, and I had to declare how many stock units I had, and I put 2, and the man behind the books was very sceptical, and he asked me to explain my 2 stock units, and I said, well, both cats neutered. And he wasn't particularly amused. Anyway, so that's enough of me and my communication skills.